Hi folks, I'm Gary Dunshee, and this month's tack tip I want to talk a little bit about the cantles on saddles. And there's four things we want to talk about: the height, the width, the dish, and the cant on the cantle. And let's go with the height first. That's the simplest deal and what most people know about. You measure from the top of the bar to the top of the cantle. This is a 4-inch cantle, and that's how you measure it. And I know that you've probably sat in saddles that they said had a 4-inch cantle and it felt good, and then you sat in another one had a 4-inch cantle and it felt completely different, didn't feel as deep. What happens with that, your 4 inches back here is important, but what's more important is up here in the bars in the front. You dish out in here to get the ground seat right, and if you can tell how this one, if the bar is straight, the bar is going to be higher, making this shorter. But we dish this out, so our 4-inch is going to be a little bit deeper than most everybody else's 4-inch cantle. It's going to measure the same back here, but it's deeper in the front because we dished it out in the front. Okay, that's the height. Now let's go to the width. And the width is from the widest point to the widest point, right across here. This is 12 inches. 12, you see them anywhere from 10 inches, that's called a spade cantle or a shovel cantle, all the way up to 13. 13 is the most common. You'll see a 13 in just about everything. We put a 12 or 12 and a half in most of our saddles and cowboy saddles. Okay, the dish. The dish, if you put a straight edge across here and then measure back down to the cantle, well, that's what's called the dish. And the dish is pretty important. It kind of determines how the saddle fits to your butt, whether it does fit or doesn't fit. And the more dish you put in there, the smaller you need to be. Big guys need less dish, smaller guys need more dish. And I'm not sure why it's that way, but that's just the way it works out. You can take a guy that weighs 100 pounds and he can have 1.5 inches of dish, and it's going to fit him real good and not bother him. And you can put a guy that weighs 225 pounds and 1.5 inches of dish, and it'll just eat him alive out here on these edges. So big guys get less dish, small guys get more dish. Alright, the last thing is the cant. And the cant is the angle of the cantle sloped back or sloped up, and how it ties into the bar. You don't want one that just comes up straight, and the more dish you put in it, the more you hollow this out, the more straight up you're making it. We've all seen saddles that were really worn right back here because there was too much dish and the cantle came up too straight. And that's the first thing that hit your hind end, was right there, and they're real uncomfortable and they rub on you. Whenever you take that dish out and cant the cantle back like this, you get away from that problem. So, and that's the way shovel and spade cantles are, the narrower cantles. Most of them have 0 dish. So where this cantle ties in, and by the way, they're really comfortable. If you've never sat in one, you ought to sit in an old A-fork. It's got a 10-inch wide cantle and no dish. Especially for big guys, they feel really, really good because they're narrow and their big old ham hocks can kind of lay over here. There's no cantle to get in the way there. So the other thing is, on this cant is the way it ties in. And this kind of helps determine the seat length that you need. You can have, say, 16 inches up here, but if your cantle comes around and ties in real far forward, and I'm going to over exaggerate this, but let's say you had the style of a cantle that came around and tied in right here. Well, you've only got that much room for your leg. You've got 16 inches here, but only that much room for your leg, so it's going to be too short seated for you. So if you have another type cantle and it comes down and just ties in right here like a spade or shovel cantle, because there's no dish, and it ties in right here, 16 inches up here might be too big for you. So you have to consider your cantle when you're deciding your seat length. And where it really fits you is not up here, it's down here between the swells and the cantle. That's where your leg is, and that's where it's going to fit you or not. Hope this helps. If you have any questions on this or anything else, well, just give us a call here at Big Bend Saddlery and we'll be glad to help. Thanks for watching.